The twin moons of Tezhar Prime cast pale silver across the palace courtyard, illuminating the towering obsidian walls and shimmering crystalline banners that fluttered softly in the night breeze. Human Lieutenant Kalen Rhodes stood beneath them, his right arm bound tightly in a pressure sling, faint traces of ruby blood drying along his skin where it had escaped the medfoam patches. The wound still pulsed with phantom heat, yet the ache wasn't what held his breath tight in his chest. It was the memory of who he bled for. Princess Serenia Tvale, heir to the jade throne of the Tezhari Empire, now rested behind layers of guarded chambers. She slept alive because Kalen had stepped between her and the assassin's plasma blade, taking the strike meant to end her life. He had been her assigned bodyguard for only 6 days. And now the queen refused to let him leave, beginning the human and the crown. When Kalen first arrived on Tezhar Prime as part of a diplomatic protection exchange, he expected tension. Humans were new allies, distrusted for their war-driven history, and even more distrusted for their strange chemistry. Their biology responded unusually well to Tezhari medicines, making them faster to heal, stronger under pressure, and unpredictable in a fight. The Tezhari called it the Red Spark. Princess Serenia was fascinated the moment she saw him spar against a squad of palace warriors. Tall by human standards, but dwarfed by Tezhari height, Kalen fought with fluid efficiency, blocking, redirecting, and outthinking his opponents. His humanity was a puzzle to her, though she masked her curiosity with cool royal distance. On the 7th morning, she summoned him for a walk through the inner gardens, seeking fresh air and brief respite before addressing the Senate. The gardens glowed with bioluminescent flowers that pulsed with soft lavender light. Kalen walked 2 steps behind her, silent but attentive. "You do not speak much, Lieutenant," Serenia said without turning. "Only when I have something useful to say, Your Highness," he replied. "And what would you say of me?" Kalen hesitated. She never spoke so directly. Finally, he answered, "That you carry far too much weight alone." It was the first time her silver eyes flickered with something warmer than formality. But the moment vanished when shadows moved between the glowing flowers. A figure cloaked in adaptive camouflage lunged. Serenia gasped as a plasma blade ignited. Kalen reacted instinctively, tackling her aside and intercepting the strike with his forearm. The searing burn reached bone, yet he held the attacker long enough for palace guards to intervene. The assassin fell. Serenia lived. Kalen bled. And everything changed. A debt the crown cannot release. Kalen woke in a medical wing with unfamiliar ceilings, the scent of crushed herbs and sterile air. Princess Serenia sat at his bedside, hands clasped tightly, as though holding herself together through sheer will. "You should have let the guards," she started. "I was closer," Kalen said with a shrug that sent pain rippling across his arm. "You nearly died." Kalen looked at her then, truly looked. "I did my duty." Serenia stood abruptly, robe swaying, but her voice softened. "And more." For 3 days she visited him. She asked questions, not about military strategies or diplomacy, but about Earth, his childhood near saltwater marshes, how humans felt about their own mortality. She shared pieces of her life too, the weight of a crown pressing upon her since birth, the fear that every smile she gave might be judged as weakness. On the 4th day, the doors slammed open. Queen Valestra Tvail entered, her presence filling the chamber with silent authority. Kaelin attempted to rise, but she raised a hand. Remain. You are injured because you defended my daughter. Her voice was deep and resonant. The red spark runs strong in your blood. Kaelin nodded respectfully. I am honored, Your Majesty. Valestra studied him for a long, unreadable moment. You gave your blood for Serenia. The Tezhari do not take such sacrifice lightly. Serenia turned cautiously toward her mother. We must allow Lieutenant Rhodes to return to his people. His mission ends when the summit concludes. The Queen answered without looking at her. His blood now binds him to the Empire. A life saved creates a life owed. Kaelin froze. I don't understand. Valestra's eyes were cold diamond. You spilled your blood to keep the royal line unbroken. Under ancient law, such an act binds you in service until the crown releases you. I will not release you. Serenia's voice trembled. Mother. Silence. Valestra commanded. You would have died, daughter. And this human prevented it. I cannot permit him to walk away, not while enemies lurk within our walls. Kaelin felt the room tilt, duty twisting into chains. So I'm a prisoner, he said quietly. A revered protector, Valestra corrected, but one who must remain. Serenia's gaze met his, grief shimmering beneath restraint. In that moment, Kaelin saw something more than royal distance. He saw worry, guilt, perhaps even care. But the Queen's decree was final. The human who would not bow. Kaelin remained within palace grounds, guarded not as a criminal, but as precious property. Whenever he walked, eyes followed him, scholars studying his physiology, soldiers whispering, nobles considering what honor demanded. Princess Serenia visited again, though less often. Her duties had grown heavier with threats still lurking. When she did appear, her voice held an edge of desperation she tried to hide. I didn't know the old law still held power, she said one evening beneath lantern-lit branches. I should have warned you. Kaelin smiled faintly. You didn't ask me to save you. Serenia turned to him, jaw tightening. But you did. And now you're trapped. He stepped closer, though respectful. If serving here keeps you safe, then it's not a prison. Her breath caught, but she looked away before emotion could betray her. 2 weeks passed. Then another attack came, not just one assassin, but 3, breaching the outer ring during a state ceremony. The guards faltered against synchronized strikes. Kaelin reacted before thought, leaping down marble steps, intercepting a plasma shard meant for Serenia's spine. This time he used his wounded arm as feint, his good hand wrenching the attacker's weapon free. Blood seeped through reopened scars, but adrenaline burned through pain. Serenia screamed his name as Kaelin held off all 3 until reinforcements swarmed. When it was over, he dropped to his knees, breathing hard. More blood, more spark. And the Queen watched every second. Ending, a choice that breaks a crown. That night, Kaelin stood before Valestra in the war chamber. Advisors urged greater restrictions, tighter control, but Serenia stared daggers at anyone who spoke of Kaelin as a tool. The Queen addressed him solemnly. You have twice bled for the royal line. You have fulfilled more than any oath could demand. Kaelin remained still. Then release me. Silence gripped the chamber. Valestra's eyes narrowed, not with cruelty, but conflict. I would keep you for the Empire's sake. But I see now, keeping you against you will turn honor into chains. Serenia stepped forward before she could reconsider. Mother, let him choose. The queen exhaled like someone shedding centuries of tradition. Kaelin Rhodes, by my hand and name, I release you from ancient bond. You may return to your people. A quiet breath escaped Serenia, relief and sorrow intertwined. But Kaelin didn't move. He looked at Serenia, then back to the queen. With respect, he said, voice steady, I wish to remain, not because I must, but because I choose to. Tezhar is threatened. You need allies who act without command. And his eyes returned to Serenia, softer now. Some bonds aren't chains, they're commitments. A stunned silence held the chamber. The queen's gaze softened, the first time Kaelin had seen her humanity crack through royal armor. Then stay, she whispered. Not as servant, not as prisoner, but as protector by choice. Serenia's eyes glistened, not with tears, but with something fiercer and brighter. Kaelin bowed, not out of obligation, but respect. From that day forward, palace records wrote of a human whose blood twice safeguarded the crown, not bound by law, but loyalty freely given. Whispers called him the Red Spark Sentinel, the human who turned chains into allegiance. And when Serenia later walked the moonlit courtyards, she no longer kept 2 steps ahead. Kaelin walked at her side, not because duty demanded it, but because destiny had chosen it.